They keep talking because they think that's strength. They think volume is power. They think opinions matter. They think being seen means being respected. But you know better. You've watched the loud ones burn out first. You've seen the talkers collapse under pressure. You've watched weak men hide behind their words. And that's why you stay quiet. Because you don't hit with hype. You hit with discipline. You hit with consistency. You hit with fire they'll never see coming. Speak less. Hit harder. That's the code. That's the edge. That's the reason you're a problem they can't solve. They show up for attention. You show up for war. They want likes. You want legacy. They want to be known. You want to be feared. And fear doesn't come from talking. Fear comes from pressure, from power that doesn't ask, from presence that doesn't flinch, from a silence that feels like a warning. You don't waste time explaining. You don't justify your standard. You don't beg to be understood. Because you know, if they can't read your focus, they're already too weak to handle you. They don't deserve access. They don't deserve the plan. They don't deserve the blueprint. They deserve the aftermath. They deserve to watch you win without saying a word. They deserve to feel the shock when you hit without warning. Speak less, hit harder, because the ones who win big don't talk big. They move in silence. They show up unannounced, and they take everything. No clapping, no posting, no bragging, just domination, just execution, just results. So loud, you never had to speak in the first place. You don't owe the world a word. Not when you're paying in sweat, not when you're bleeding in silence, not when you're building alone while they perform for likes. They keep talking because that's all they've got. Words, noise, distractions. You don't talk. You do. You don't threaten. You move. You don't argue. You execute. Because you know real power never announces itself. It shows up quiet, it leaves impact, and then it walks out without looking back. You're not looking for applause. You're looking for mastery. You're not competing with them. You're destroying the you from yesterday. They think your silence means you're weak. They think your calm means you're passive. They think you're sitting still. They have no idea what you're becoming. Because while they're talking, you're training. While they're posting, you're planning. While they're flexing, you're forging. They're building hype. You're building havoc. They keep telling the world what they're gonna do. You just do it. And when you do, it hits harder than anything they could have imagined. That's why you're dangerous. Because you're unpredictable. Because you're unshakable. Because you're unavailable for anything that doesn't build you. Speak less. Hit harder. Because talking feeds ego, but silence feeds results. They don't need to hear you. They need to feel you. And when the time comes, you won't raise your voice. You'll raise the standard. Every time you stay silent, you get stronger. Every time you refuse to react, you grow sharper. Every time you don't explain, you build power. They don't know what's coming because you never told them. You don't broadcast your next move. You don't show your hand. You let them think you're sleeping, then you strike. And that's why they can't compete. Because they spent their energy trying to be seen. You spent yours becoming lethal. While they were loud, you were building in silence. While they were flashing, you were forging. While they were pleasing the crowd, you were cutting through noise like a blade. And now they feel it. Now they know. Now they understand why you didn't speak. Because what you were building didn't need announcements. It needed obsession. It needed pain. It needed reps that nobody clapped for. You don't beg for eyes. You demand respect. And that kind of respect isn't bought with words. It's bought with fire. It's bought with sacrifice. It's bought with every day you kept going when nobody watched. That's the part they'll never get. Because they only move when people notice. You move, even when nobody cares. You're not loud because you're not desperate. You're not flashy because you're already focused. You're not talking because you're too busy hitting. And when you hit, it's with precision, it's with purpose, it's with the force of every silent rep they laughed at. Let them talk, let them mock, let them doubt, because you're not here to be liked, you're here to be felt. Speak less, hit harder. Let the work do the talking. Let the results make the noise. Let the silence break their confidence before you even land the first blow. You don't need a crowd to become a killer. You don't need attention to earn power. You just need to shut up and build. They talk because it makes them feel important. You stay quiet because you know what's coming. You know that real strength doesn't perform. It just shows up, unannounced, unapologetic, unstoppable. You're not here to argue about your vision. You're here to execute it. You're not here to convince anyone. You're here to prove them all wrong, without saying a word. That's the part they'll never understand, because they've never gone long enough in silence to hear the voice of discipline, the voice that doesn't need praise, the voice that doesn't flinch when it hurts, the voice that doesn't quit when it gets hard. They're trained by approval. You're trained by pain. They work when they're motivated. You work when you're dead inside. Because this isn't about mood. This is about mission. And missions don't need volume. They need execution. So you show up quiet. You train with no cameras. You bleed with no sympathy. You build with no applause. And when you arrive, it hits like a bomb no one heard coming. Because that's the power of silence. You never gave them a chance to prepare. Speak less, hit harder. Let the work speak in a language they can't argue with. Let your silence echo in their doubt. Let every scar be a sentence you never had to say. They'll feel it. They'll all feel it. And when they ask where you came from, you'll say nothing. Because you were never hiding. You were just building. You spent so long in silence. They forgot you were watching. They forgot you were training. They forgot you were coming. But that's the point. They were supposed to forget. You let them doubt you, so you could break them without resistance. Because that's what happens when you speak less. You build tension, you build power, you build focus, and then you hit. Not with words, not with warnings, but with results they can't deny. With growth they can't match. With presence they can't look in the eye. Now they look confused. Now they ask how you did it. Now they want to learn from you. But you don't teach this. You don't translate discipline to the undisciplined. You don't explain fire to people who fear heat. You just keep moving. You just keep building. You just keep hitting. Because the ones who speak less don't need the spotlight. They become the standard. You don't chase applause. You chase mastery. You don't react to noise. You control the room. You don't say you're built different. You prove it in every move you make. You were forged in silence. Now you move with impact. Now you speak with precision. Now you hit with everything you built in the dark. Speak less, hit harder, and let the world realize too late that the quiet one was the threat all along. You don't need to be heard. You just need to be felt. Because when you hit with silence behind you, they never see it coming. Subscribe if you're done, explaining and ready to execute. Comment, I don't talk, I build, if you're moving quiet and hitting hard. Turn on notifications. Because every time you show up here, you leave sharper than you came. This is Dark Force, and you don't speak, you strike.